power of silence. Stop. Before you speak another word about your life in 2026, ask yourself this. Why do you reveal your plans to a world that has done nothing to deserve your trust? Every time you speak too soon, you drain energy. Every explanation softens your direction, and every unnecessary word invites opposition. Monks are taught this early. Power grows in silence. Wisdom moves without noise. So let me ask you this. Are you speaking from discipline, or are you seeking approval? If you want strength, clarity, and respect in 2026, then listen closely. 1. Silence protects energy. What remains unspoken cannot be attacked. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is containment. When you restrain your words, you are not hiding weakness. You are holding power in its purest form. Energy that is not released stays available. Energy that is not explained remains whole. The world cannot interfere with what it cannot access. And access is granted through words. Every sentence shared about your plans creates an opening. Every explanation extends an invitation. Every announcement leaves a door unguarded. Silence seals the gate. In ancient disciplines, silence was never punishment. It was preservation. The mind learns to conserve strength, just as the body learns to conserve breath. When words decrease, intention sharpens. When intention sharpens, direction clarifies. When direction is clear, fewer obstacles appear, not because the road is easier, but because fewer people are invited to stand in the way. Energy leaks through speech long before action begins. This is why exhaustion often arrives before effort. People feel tired not from doing too much, but from talking too much about what they plan to do. The nervous system registers effort even when nothing has been built. Silence prevents premature expenditure. There is another layer. Speaking exposes you to opinion. Opinion breeds doubt. Doubt fractures momentum. What began as a clean internal decision becomes diluted by external noise. Silence protects against this erosion. It allows conviction to mature without interference. Those who understand this move quietly, not from fear, but from precision. They know strength develops in private. A seed does not announce itself before breaking through the soil. It grows unseen, protected by darkness, supported by patience. Silence is that darkness. It is not passive. It is active restraint. It is the discipline of not reacting, not explaining, not defending. When nothing is said, nothing can be twisted. When nothing is promised, nothing can be demanded. When nothing is revealed, nothing can be sabotaged. Power respects boundaries, and silence is the strongest boundary you can set. The quieter you become, the more you hear. The more you hear, the less you need to speak. Awareness replaces impulse. Wisdom replaces urgency. And once silence preserves your energy long enough, something subtle shifts. You begin to see why people speak when they do. You notice insecurity behind announcements, fear behind oversharing, hunger behind constant updates. You realize most words are not communication, but compensation. Because once silence is mastered, a deeper truth reveals itself. Not everyone speaks to inform. Many speak to be seen. To most people, talk to feel important, not to be effective. Speech is often mistaken for progress. Movement of the mouth is confused with movement of life. But effectiveness is quiet. It leaves results, not explanations. It leaves impact, not stories. Many speak because silence makes them uncomfortable. Silence forces self-confrontation. In quiet, there is no audience to impress, no reflection to adjust, no reaction to chase. So words become a distraction from inner emptiness. Talking creates the illusion of presence. This is why announcements are addictive. They offer recognition without effort, validation without achievement, identity without substance. But importance gained through speech is fragile. It depends on attention. It collapses when attention fades. Effectiveness stands differently. It does not need applause. It cannot be taken by indifference. Observe closely and a pattern appears. Those who speak the most often do the least. Those who do the most rarely speak. This is not coincidence. It is the law of focus. Effectiveness requires concentration. Concentration requires silence. Silence requires the ego to loosen its grip. Speaking to feel important feeds ego. Speaking to be effective is rarely necessary. When someone constantly updates others on their journey, it is often because they are unsure of their direction. External affirmation is used to stabilize internal doubt, but this creates dependence. When affirmation stops, motivation collapses. Effectiveness grows independently. Those who understand this allow their work to mature before revealing it. They understand timing. They know premature exposure invites premature judgment. Judgment alters behavior. Behavior altered too early loses authenticity. Silence preserves alignment. Importance seeks visibility. Effectiveness seeks completion. This is why wisdom traditions emphasize restraint of speech, not as morality, but as strategy. Words are tools. Tools are used only when required. A hammer is not swung to prove strength. It is swung to drive the nail. When speech becomes habitual instead of intentional, it loses force. The more you need to explain yourself, the less effective you become. The more effective you become, the less explanation is needed. Eventually, people stop asking what you are doing. They begin observing what you have done. This shift unsettles the ego. The ego wants recognition now. Wisdom is willing to wait. Wisdom understands that silence delays gratification but multiplies impact. And when the need to feel important dissolves, another discipline naturally appears. 3. Discipline begins when explanation ends. Explanation often disguises avoidance. It feels productive, but delays action. It feels responsible, but weakens resolve. The moment explanation stops, reality is faced directly. Discipline does not negotiate. It does not justify. It does not seek permission. It acts according to principle. When explanation ends, accountability begins. Explanation invites debate. Debate invites compromise. Compromise invites inconsistency. Discipline removes all of this. It establishes a clear internal command. One voice. One direction. No committee. This is why disciplined individuals appear calm. There is no internal argument. The decision is already made. Energy is not wasted revisiting it. Explanation also creates exits. When you explain intentions, you subconsciously leave room to retreat. Commitment softens. Discipline does the opposite. It removes narrative and hardens resolve. No story, only action. When explanation stops, performance ends. When performance ends, life aligns with truth instead of perception. Without explanation, responsibility becomes internal. Success and failure are owned completely. There is no audience to blame. no misunderstanding to hide behind. This is where character is formed. Discipline is quiet. It reveals itself through consistency, through repetition, through showing up when no one is watching. Explanation weakens discipline because it seeks approval. Discipline requires none. It demands obedience to a chosen path. When this is understood, life simplifies. Decisions reduce. Distractions lose power. Time expands because energy is no longer scattered across unnecessary conversations. A disciplined life is quiet, but its impact is undeniable. When explanation ends, momentum increases. When momentum increases, results compound. When results compound, silence becomes natural, because there is nothing left to prove. From this point forward, the path asks not for words, but for embodiment. For your life is not a group project. Stop updating everyone. A group project requires agreement. A life requires alignment. When you treat your life as something that needs constant updates, approvals, and shared opinions, you weaken authority over your direction. Each update invites feedback. Each feedback invites doubt. Each doubt pulls you slightly off course. Slowly, the path that was once clear becomes crowded with voices that were never meant to lead you. Your life was not designed for committee decisions. Updating others feels polite. It feels transparent. It feels connected. But often it is fear disguised as openness. It is the discomfort of standing alone, wrapped in the language of sharing. When you update others, you unconsciously hand over part of your responsibility. And when responsibility is divided, discipline erodes. A focused life advances quietly. The urge to update comes from uncertainty. When direction is solid, there is nothing to announce. The path speaks for itself. Trees do not announce their growth. Mountains do not explain their presence. They stand, and in standing they are known. When you update everyone, you fragment attention. Energy that should move forward is You begin managing reactions instead of managing progress. You start adjusting plans to avoid disappointing others. Right. Third, then honoring what is necessary. This is how self-betrayal begins quietly. Privacy is not secrecy. Privacy is respect for process. What is still forming needs protection. When you expose it too early, you force it to defend itself before it is ready. Defense consumes energy that should be used for development. The disciplined path is lonely at first. That loneliness is not punishment. It is purification. It removes dependency on applause. It removes reliance on reassurance. It strengthens inner authority. When you stop updating everyone, you reclaim sovereignty. Decisions become faster. Doubt becomes quieter. Time comes usable again. Life stops feeling like performance and starts feeling like practice. And once life becomes practice, another realization surfaces naturally. Because when you stop asking others to witness your journey, you begin to notice why witnessing was needed in the first place. 5. The ego wants applause. Wisdom wants results. Applause is immediate. Results are delayed. The ego prefers what isn't. It feeds on recognition, reacts to praise, and withers in silence. Wisdom is patient. It understands that what matters most often goes unnoticed for a long time. This difference defines the tension between performance and purpose. Applause rewards appearance. Results reward substance. When the ego leads, effort is shaped around visibility. Actions are chosen for how they look, not what they build. Energies spent where it can be seen, not what air it is needed. This creates motion without depth. Wisdom chooses the opposite. Wisdom accepts obscurity as the price of mastery. It understands that the most meaningful progress happens away from attention. Muscles grow in recovery. Skills sharpen in repetition. Character forms in moments no one applauds. The ego asks, who will? Wisdom asks, will this endure? Applause fades quickly. Results mine. Applause depends on others. Results depend on consistency. Applause inflates identity. Results refine it. This is why chasing recognition feels it never satisfies. There is always a need for more approval, louder praise, wider reach. The appetite grows but is never fed. Wisdom avoids this trap by placing fulfillment in completion, not reaction. When wisdom leads, silence becomes comfortable. There is no urgency to announce progress. There is trust in accumulation. Each small action is a debt. Over time, these deposits compound into something undeniable. The ego wants to be seen becoming. Wisdom wants to arrive. Results do not argue. They do not explain. They do not persuade. They simply exist. This existence carries weight. It shifts conversations without speaking. It changes how others relate to you without demand. Eventually, applause comes, but by then, it no longer matters. And when applause loses its grip, something else becomes possible. Because once the ego stops reaching outward for validation, action can finally stand on its own strength. 6. When you speak less, your actions speak louder. Silence creates contrast. Action fills it. When words are reduced, behavior becomes visible. There is no narration to soften failure or exaggerate effort. Only what is done remains. This exposure is uncomfortable for the undisciplined and liberating for the committed. Speaking less removes camouflage without constant explanation. Actions carry full responsibility. Success cannot be overstated. Failure cannot be excused. This pressure sharpens precision. It forces integrity. Every movement begins to matter. When words disappear, presence intensifies. People listen differently when you speak rarely. Attention sharpens, weight increases, speech becomes deliberate rather than habitual. Each word lands because it is not surrounded by noise. But more importantly, silence shifts focus inward. Instead of monitoring reactions, you monitor behavior. Instead of crafting narratives, you refine discipline over validation. Life becomes less about expression and more about embodiment. Actions require no translation. Consistency becomes visible when there is nothing else to observe. Patterns emerge. Trust builds. Respect forms, not because of promises made, but because of promises kept without being announced. Speaking less also removes temptation. The temptation to exaggerate. The temptation to commit publicly before being ready. The temptation to seek motivation through exposure rather than discipline. Silence protects sincerity. When actions speak, they speak in time. They do not rush. They do not interrupt. They wait until completion. This patience gives them authority. People may ignore words, but they adjust to reality. A disciplined life eventually becomes unmistakable. Not loud, not dramatic, but undeniable. And dense actions carry the message. There is nothing left to explain. Only the pad head remains. 7. True confidence does not need wit. True confidence is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not look around, check who is watching. Confidence that needs witnesses is not confidence. It is reassurance, seeking disguise as strength. It depends on reaction. It adjusts according to approval. It rises when praised and collapses when ignored. This kind of confidence is fragile because it is built outside the self. True confidence is rooted internally. It is the calm certainty that remains when no one is clapping, when no one is validating, when no one is aware of your effort. It does not require confirmation because it is not based on opinion. It is based on alignment between thought, action, and value. When confidence is real, solitude does not weaken it. Silence does not threaten it. Invisibility does not erase it. It remains steady because it is not borrowed. Those who truly trust themselves do not need to convince. They do not They do not perform certainty. They simply move. False confidence speaks loudly to hide hesitation. True confidence moves slowly to conserve strength. Observe, careful, and you will see this difference everywhere. The loudest voices often carry the most doubt. The quietest presence often carries the most authority. This authority does not come from dominance, but from groundedness, from knowing without needing to prove. Witnesses create pressure. Pressure alters behavior. Behavior altered or appearance loses authenticity. True confidence refuses this distortion. It chooses integrity over impression. When no one is watching, the undisciplined relax their standards. The confident maintain them. This is not how you act in public, but how you act in absence. True confidence is not arrogant. It does not seek to be above others. It seeks to be true to itself. It does not compete for attention because it is not insecure about its place. This confidence grows through kept promises made only to yourself. Through consistency unseen, through effort unshared, each private act strengthens untold trust. Over time, this trust becomes unshakable. And when confidence no longer needs witnesses, something else becomes possible. Because once you stop seeking validation, you naturally stop exposing what should still be protected. 8. Plants grow stronger in privacy, weaker in exposure. Plans are fragile in their early stages. They are ideas seeking structure, intentions seeking form. Exposure too early introduces forces they are not ready to withstand. Privacy is not fear. Privacy is incubation. When plans remain private, they are allowed to evolve. Mistakes can be corrected quietly. Adjustments can be made without explanation. Direction can shift without embarrassment. This flexibility strengthens the plan. Exposure hardens too soon. When plans are shared early, they become fixed prematurely. Ego attaches, pride defends. Change feels like failure. Instead of our refinement, the plan becomes a statement instead of a strategy. Privacy keeps plans fluid. There is also the weight of expectation. Once others know your plans, their assumptions sit on your shoulders. Even silent expectations influence behavior. You begin making decisions to align with what was said rather than what is needed now. Privacy removes this burden. Insolence, plans grow roots. They deepen. They become resilient. They are shaped by reality rather than reaction, by effort rather than opinion. Those who understand this protect their intentions carefully. Not everyone deserves access to your direction. Not every mind should touch your blueprint. Too many hands distort the design. Plans require clarity. Clarity requires space. Space is created by silence. Exposure invites commentary. Commentary invites doubt. Doubt weakens execution. This chain is subtle but destructive. It is avoided entirely by restraint. When the time is right, results speak without vulnerability. They are complete. They cannot be undone by criticism. They no longer need protection. Strong plans reveal themselves only when they are no longer plans. And once plans are allowed to mature unseen, another truth emerges naturally because, in the absence of performance, something honest begins to surface. 9. Silence reveals who you truly are without performance. Performance is it requires constant awareness of how you are perceived. It demands adjustment, monitoring, correction. Silence removes the stage. Without an audience, the act collapses. What remains is truth. Silence strips identity down to behavior. Without explanation, without narrative, without display, you are left with what you actually do. Not what you say you will do, not what you want others to believe. Only action remains. This exposure is uncomfortable. Many avoid silence because it reveals. In quiet, excuses fade. Stories, low patterns become visible. You see clearly where discipline exists and where it does not. Silence does not judge. It reflects. In this reflection, character is revealed. Habits emerge. Intentions are tested. Without performance, motivation must come from within or not at all. Those who rely on external stimulation struggle here. Those who have cultivated inner discipline find peace. Silence shows you your true relationship with yourself. Whether you keep your word when no one is listening. Whether you act with integrity when nothing is at stake, publicly. This revelation is not meant to shame. It is meant to guide. Once you see clearly, correction becomes possible. Growth becomes honest. Performance creates distance from self. Silence removes it. Over time, silence becomes a teacher. It trains awareness. It refines intention. It exposes resistance. It strengthens resolve. Insolence, you meet yourself without costume. And once you can stand comfortably there, without performance, without explanation, without witnesses, the path forward no longer requires moving inside. It requires embodiment. 10 monks trained to master the tongue before mastering the world. Training begins with the smallest muscle, not the largest ambition. Before strength is cultivated in the body, before endurance is built in the mind, attention is gavento, the tongue. Not because speech is dangerous, but because it is revealing. What you say exposes what controls you. Words move faster than wisdom. In disciplined traditions, restraint of speech is not silence for its own sake. It is observation. Every impulse to speak is examined. Is it necessary? Is it truthful? Is it timely? Most impulses fail this test. They arise from emotion, from insecurity, from habit. By not acting on them, awareness sharpens. Mastery of the tongue is mastery of reaction. When the tongue is uncontrolled, the mind follows it. Thoughts spill outward before they settle. Emotions gain momentum through expression. Conflict escalates. Because words amplify what could have dissolved quietly. Training interrupts the cycle. To pause before speaking is to insert consciousness where habit once ruled. In thought pause, choice appears. In that choice, discipline is strengthened. Over time, this becomes natural. Speech slows. Intent clarifies. Presence deepens. Those who cannot control their words cannot control their direction. They are constantly responding, explaining, defending. Energy is consumed by reaction instead of creation. Restraint conserves force. When speed aches, mastered attention turns inward. Instead of projecting outward, awareness observes internal movement. This creates stability becomes composure. Composure becomes authority. Authority does not demand attention. It commands respect quietly. This is why the tongue is trained before the world is engaged. Because the world responds not to noise but to centeredness, not to explanation but to consistency. And once the tongue is mastered, something subtle but profound happens. Because when fewer words are spoken, each word begins to matter more. 11. Every unnecessary word is a loss. Affinna, power. Power is finite. Attention is limited. Each word spoken consumes a measure of both. When words are unnecessary, that consumption yields nothing in return. This loss is rarely noticed because it is gradual. A comment here, an explanation there, a responsato, something that did not require one. Slowly energy disperses. Focus weakens. The mind becomes scattered. Not from complexity, but from excess expression. Unnecessary words drain presence. Silence, by contrast, concentrates it. When nothing is said, awareness gathers, it pulls inward. This inward accumulation strengthens resolve. It sharpens perception. It stabilizes emotion. Words should serve purpose, not impulse. Many speak to fill space, to avoid discomfort, to escape stillness. But stillness is where power resides. It is where clarity forms. It is where intention becomes solid. Each unnecessary word interrupts this process. When you speak without necessity, you give away authority. You allow external circumstances to dictate your intent. Reaction replaces response. Noise replaces meaning. Restraint reverses this. By speaking less, you reclaim energy. By choosing words carefully, you preserve force over time. This creates a noticeable. You feel less drained, less reactive, more grounded. Others notice as well. Speech that is rare is weighted. It carries intention. It commands attention without demanding it. This is not manipulation. It is natural consequence. Power respects economy. Inner power grows when expression is disciplined. And as inner power accumulates, another realization becomes. Because when words lose their urgency, presence takes their place. 12. People don't need to know our journey, only the outcome. Journeys are personal. Outcomes are universal. When you share every step, every struggle, every adjustment, you blur this distinction. The journey becomes. The outcome becomes secondary. Attention shifts from completion to narration. This weakens momentum. The journey is where mistakes happen, where doubts arise, where direction shifts. Exposing this process invites commentary at the most vulnerable stages. It complicates what should remain simple. Outcomes speak cleanly. They require no explanation. They carry their own proof. They are understood without context. This is their strength. When people know only the outcome, they judge based on reality, not effort. This removes sympathy. It removes bias. What remains is truth. Keeping the journey private protects focus. It allows you to fail without audience, to adapt without justification, to persist without pressure. This freedom is essential for growth. Those who reveal too much too soon often seek support but receive a distraction instead. Opinions fragment resolve. Encouragement replaces despair. Comfort delays completion. Silence preserves urgency. The outcome, when a Taurus needs no defense, it stands alone. It changes perception instantly. Conversations shift. Respect. Recalibrate. This is why wisdom teaches restraint. Not to isolate, but to refine. Not to hide, but to strengthen. When the outcome is revealed, the journey no longer matters. And once this is understood, the need to speak at all begins to fade. 13. Stillness sharpens focus. Noise scatters it. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the absence of distraction. When the mind is still, attention becomes precise. It no longer jumps from thought to thought, from stimulus to stimulus. It rests. In that rest, perception sharpens. What was once blurred becomes defined. What was once overwhelming becomes manageable. Noise does the opposite. Noise fragments it. It pulls the mind outward in multiple directions at once. Each sound, each notification, each unnecessary conversation demands a portion of awareness. Oh, at time awareness is divided into pieces too small to be effective. Focus cannot survive in constant noise. Stillness creates a single point. From that point, intention can be applied fully. Effort becomes efficient. Decisions become clearer. Action becomes deliberate rather than reactive. This is why stillness often feels uncomfortable at first. It removes distraction. It exposes restlessness. It reveals how dependent the mind has become on stimulation. But if you remain, something shifts. The mind begins to settle. As it settles, focus emerges naturally. Not forced, not strained, simply present. You no longer need to chase concentration. It comes to you. Noise scatters because it creates urgency where none is required. Everything feels important. Everything feels immediate. Stillness, it shows you what truly matters and what can wait. In stillness, priorities align. This alignment strengthens discipline. When focus is sharp, effort is not wasted. Energy moves directly toward purpose. There is no need for motivation speeches, no need for external pressure. Clarity itself becomes fuel. Those who cultivate stillness are not slow. They are efficient. They move with intention. They conserve strength. They act when action is required, and remain quiet when it is not. Stillness also trains patience. It teaches you to remain present without stimulation. This patience is power. It allows you to wait without weakening, to observe without interfering, to repair without rushing. And once focus is sharpened through stillness, another advantage becomes visible, because a focused presence is difficult to interrupt. Let time reveal you. 14. Those who move in silence are harder to stop. Movement attracts attention. Silence avoids it. When you move loudly, resistance forms early. Opinions appear. Obstacles are placed before progress has momentum. Silence allows movement to gain strength before it is noticed. Those who move in silence do not announce direction. They do not signal timing. They do not invite challenge a priori. They advance while others are distracted. This is not deception. It is strategy. Silence removes targets. Without a visible aim, opposition struggles to organize. Without announcements, there is no clear point of attack. Progress continues uninterrupted. Those who are hard to stop are not necessarily stronger. They are less predictable. Silence also. When setbacks occur, they happen privately. Recovery is quiet. Adjustments are made without public pressure. This preserves confidence. It maintains momentum. Loud movement invites commentary. Commentary and doubt slows execution. Silent movement bypasses the cycle entirely. When you move without noise, energy remains internal. Focus stays intact. Effort compounds. By the time results are visible, they are already established. Stopping something requires early detection. Silence, delay. This is why disciplined individuals often seem to apathize. In reality, they have been building quietly for a long time. What looks like overnight success is usually the result of prolonged unseen effort. Silence also trains resilience. Without external validation, motivation must come from. This strengthens resolve. It creates independence from circumstance. Those who move in silence learn to rely on their own structure. Eventually, their presence becomes undeniable. Not because they demanded attention, but because their position can no longer be ignored. And when silence has carried you this far, another realization follows naturally. Because once movement becomes quiet and effective, words themselves begin to change. "15. Wisdom is not loud. It is precise. Loudness seeks reach. Precision seeks accuracy. Wisdom does not attempt to dominate space. It does not compete for volume. It chooses exactness. Each word is selected. Each action is measured. Nothing is wasted. Loudness compensates for uncertainty. Precision comes from clarity. When wisdom speaks, it does so sparingly, not because it has little to say, but because it understands timing. The right word at the right moment carries more power than many words spoken carelessly. Precision requires restraint. It requires knowing when not to speak, when not to act, when not to react. This restraint is not hesitation. It is discernment. It separates impulse from intent. Wisdom observes before intervening. In action, precision looks like Eve. Efficiency. Movements are clean. Effort is direct. There is no exception. This economy creates strength. It preserves energy. Loud approaches exhaust quickly. Precise approaches endure. Wisdom also accepts limitation. It doesn't attempt everything. It chooses what matters. This choice eliminates distraction. It sharpens focus. It deepens impact. Precision creates trust. Others learned that when you speak, it matters. When you act, it counts. There is no need to amplify. Influence grows naturally. This is why wisdom often appears understated. Its power is not immediate, but it is lasting. It does not impress instantly, but it transforms over time. When precision becomes habit, life simplifies, decisions become cleaner, regret diminishes, direction stabilizes. And once wisdom is lived this way, quietly and precisely, the next step no longer requires instruction. It requires consistency. 16. Restraint is a higher form of strength than expression. Strength is often misunderstood. It is imagined as force released outward, as dominance displayed, as energy expressed loudly and without hesitation. But this is the lowest form of strength. It is easy to release. It is easy to react. It is easy to express what you feel in the moment. True strength begins where impulse ends. Restraint is strength refined. To restrain is not to suppress. Suppression is fear. Restraint is choice. It is the ability to feel fully and still, decided. It is the mastery of self in moments where reaction would be easier than control. Expression feels powerful because it creates the illusion of relief. But relief is temporary. Power that is released without direction dissipates quickly. Restraint, on the other hand, stores power. It concentrates. It transforms raw energy into potential. This is why restraint feels heavy at first. You are holding something valuable. When emotion rises and you do not speak, when anger appears and you do not act, when desire urges and you do not follow blindly, you are not losing strength. You are building it. Each moment of restraint reinforces inner. It teaches the nervous system that you are in control. Most people express because they cannot tolerate discomfort. They mistake tolerance for weakness. In reality, tolerance is endurance. It is the capacity to remain present without needing escape. This capacity separatist, disciplined from the reactive. Restraint sharpens awareness. When you do not express immediately, you are forced to observe. You feel the emotion. You notice its rise, its peak, its fall. You learn that emotions are. This knowledge reduces their power over you. Expression often cuts this learning short. It releases tension but preserves ignorance. Restaurant indicates. There is also strategic strength in holding back. Expression reveals position. It shows your hand. It signals intention. Restraint keeps information internal. It preserves mystery. It prevents others from predicting your next move. Those who express constantly are easy to read. Those who restrain are difficult to manipulate. Restraint creates presence. When words are not used to fill space, silence becomes intentional. This intention carries weight. People sense. They adjust around it, not because of intimidation, but because of gravity. A restrained person does not need to assert dominance. Their composure does it naturally. In moments of conflict, restraint is especially powerful. The reactive escalate. The restraint stabilize. Stability shifts the dynamic. It removes fuel. It creates imbalance in favor of clarity. Expression often feels like honesty, but honesty without discipline evokes chaos. Restraint allows honesty to mature before being released. It ensures that when expression does happen, it is precise, necessary, and constructive. Restraint also protects relationships. Many words spoken in impulse cannot be retrieved. Many actions taken in emotion create damage that time struggles to repair. Restraint acts as a filter. It asks, is this needed? Is this useful? Is this aligned? Strength answers these questions before moving. In training, restraint is cultivated deliberately, not to create rigidity, but to build flexibility. When you can hold back, you can also release appropriately. Without restraint, release is automatic and uncontrolled. Restraint gives you option. It also builds self. Each time you choose restraint, over impulse, you reinforce trust with yourself. You prove that you are not a slave to circumstance. This trust compounds. It becomes confidence rooted in behavior rather than belief. Over time, restraint becomes effortless. It no longer feels like holding back. It feels like alignment. Expression becomes rare, but inner strength and silence becomes comfortable. Others may misunderstand restraint as this does not matter. Strength is not measured by perception, it is measured by stability. Those who lack restraint burn bright and fade quickly. Those who cultivate restraint endure. Restraint also reveals priorities. When everything is not expressed, you learn what truly deserves expression. Words become valuable. Actions become intense. Life simplifies. This simplicity is powerful. In a world that rewards noise, restraint creates contrast. In an environment of constant expression, silence becomes noticeable. Not because it is loud, but because it is rare. Restraint also trains patience. It teaches you to wait for the right moment. Timing amplifies strength. The same action performed performed at the right time, it transforms situations. Expression ignores timing. Restraint respects it. There is also humility in restraint. It accepts that not every thought needs to be shared. Not every feeling needs to be validated. Not every reaction needs to be displayed. This humility creates openness. It allows learning. It prevents arrogance. Arrogance expresses wisdom restrained. Restraint does not mean silence forever. It means silence until clarity arrives. It means action when action is required, not when emotion demands it. This discipline is difficult because it delays gratification. But delayed gratification strengthens will. Strengthened will expands capacity. Expanded capacity changes destiny. When restraint becomes habit, chaos loses influence. External triggers lose control. Life becomes responsive rather than reactive. This is higher strength. And once restraint is fully embodied, expression itself transforms. When it finally appears, it carries depth. It carries truth. It carries impact. And from that point forward, the next lesson no longer concerns holding back. It concerns choosing when to move forward. 17. Let time reveal you, not your mouth. Time is the most honest witness. It cannot be persuaded. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be impressed. When you allow time to reveal who you are, truth emerges without distortion. But when you use your mouth to reveal yourself, truth is filtered through desire, fear, and ego. Words bend reality. Time does not. Most people try to arrive before they have traveled. They speak before they have endured. They declare before they have embodied. In doing so, they attempt to replace time with talk. This substitution never lasts. Time exposes what words conceal. When you speak too early, you interrupt a sacred process. Growth requires pressure, repetition, and silence. Announcing yourself before time has shaped you weakens defamation. You become known for intention instead of character. Let time do the speaking. Time carries weight because it tests consistency. Anyone can perform briefly. Few can persist quietly. Time watches who shows up. When enthusiasm fades, when motivation drops, when progress is invisible, it observes without reacting. Those who rely on their mouth avoid this test. They explain delays. They justify. They narrate effort instead of producing outcome. Time ignores these. Time only records action. To let time reveal you requires patience. Patience is uncomfortable because it delays recognition. It asks you to remain unseen. It demands faith in process rather than praise. This faith is rare. Patience refines its intention. When no one knows what you are doing, motivation must come from within. There is no audience to impress, no reputation to protect. Only commitment remains. This is where affinity forms. The mouth seeks relief. Time builds resilience. Speaking provides temporary comfort. It releases tension. It creates connection, but it also disperses focus. It exposes you prematurely. Time, on the other hand, concentrates effort. It compounds small actions. It allows progress to mature before exposure. By the time results are visible, they are stable. This stability cannot be questioned. When time reveals you, your presence feels as earned. There is no need to convince, no need to defend, no need to explain how hard it was. The result carries its own authority. This authority is quiet. Those revealed by time move differently. They speak less because they do not need to narrate. They listen more because they are not desperate to be seen. Their confidence is settled, not inflated. The mouth seeks immediacy. Time rewards endurance. Every declaration made too early becomes a burden. You must maintain it. You must live up to it. You must manage perception. This drains energy that should be invested in growth. When you remain silent, there is nothing to maintain except discipline. Time also protects you from becoming trapped by your own words. Early declarations harden identity. They lock you into a version of yourself that may no longer fit. Growth requires flexibility. Time provides it. Silence keeps identity fluid. As time passes, you evolve. Your understanding deepens. Your directions. If you have spoken too much, change feels like contradiction. If you have remained quiet, change feels natural. Time allows transformation without apology. There is humility in letting time reveal you. It accepts that you are not finished. It accepts that development takes longer than excitement. This humility creates openness. It prevents arrogance. It keeps learning alive. Those who rush to be known often stop becoming. Time also filters. When you do not announce yourself, those who stay are those who respect your process. Those who disappear were only attracted to performance. This filtering simplifies life. Simplicity strengthens focus. Letting time reveal you also trains trust. Trust in effort. Trust in repetition. Trust that what is built slowly will stand firmly. This trust replaces anxiety. Anxiety seeks reassurance through speech. Trust waits. Waiting is not passive. It is active commitment without noise. It is showing up daily without reporting progress. It is believing in cause and effect without needing witnesses. This belief builds innocence. Over time, something subtle happens. You stop wanting to speak about. The urge fades, not because you are suppressing it, but because it is no longer necessary. You are busy. Becoming is absorbing. When time finally reveals you, it does so completely. Not in fragments, not in promises, but in reality. This revelation cannot be undone by criticism. It cannot be dismissed as potential. It exists. This existence shifts how others. Respect replaces curiosity. Observation replaces questioning. The dynamic changes without conversation. This is the power of time. Those revealed by time are not loud. They are not rushed. They are prepared. They do not chase recognition. Best recognition eventually arrives on its own. And when it does, it feels irrelevant, because the true reward was not being seen. It was becoming someone worth being seen. Let time, Reverend, heal you, not your mouth. And when time has finished its work, There is only one step left to let your results speak without you saying a word. 18. In 2026, become disciplined enough to let results introduce you. The year does not need your announcement. It needs your embodiment. Every new cycle, invitationalized, declarations, resolutions, spoken loudly and forgotten quietly. Promise made to feel fresh, not to be kept. But discipline does not recognize calendar. It recognizes patterns. And patterns reveal themselves only through. To let results introduce you is to remove yourself from the center of story. Most people want to be known for intention. Discipline asks you to be known for outcome. Intention feels good. Outcome demands effort. Intention gains quick agreement. Outcome earns slow respect. In 2026, discipline means choosing the long path without narration. When results introduce you, you are no longer managing perception. You are no longer explaining progress. You are no longer defending pace. You are simply living evidence. This evidence speaks without language. It changes how others respond before you say a word. Results are honest. They carry no exaggeration. They do not bend to emotion. They reflect exactly what has been done, not what was planned. This honesty can feel confronting, but it is also liberating. Results speak, there is no performance required, only consistency. To let results introduce you requires restraint. You must resist the urge to share effort. You must tolerate being underestimated. You must accept that silence delays recognition. This tolerance is strength. Discipline is built in this delay. When no one knows what you are working on, motivation must be internal. There is no external pressure to impress, no applause to chase. This strips motivation down to its core. If you continue, it is because you are committed, not because you are seen. Commitment without witnesses is rare. This rarity is what gives results their weight. When they appear, they surprise. They recalibrate expectations. They shift dynamics. People adjust because reality demands it, not because you ask them to. Results introduce you accurately. They reveal discipline, not desire. They reveal structure, not excitement. They reveal habits, not hope. This revelation is clean. It does not require interpretation. In 2026, let this be your standard. Stop asking if you are doing enough. Results will answer. Stop wondering if others believe in you. Results will show them. Stop trying to be understood. Results will make explanation unnecessary. This does not mean rushing outcomes. It means trusting process. Discipline respects timing. It understands that growth cannot be forced without breaking integrity. Results that arrive too quickly are often unstable. Discipline builds foundations before exposure. Let results arrive when they are ready. This patience changes behavior. You stop cutting corners. You stop seeking shortcuts. You stop negotiating with discomfort. You understand that every small action compounds even when unseen. Unseen effort is not wasted. It is concentrated. Results that introduce you are dense. They carry history. They carry repetition. They carry sacrifice. This density gives them gravity. Others feel it, even if they cannot explain why. This is authority without assertion. When results speak, they speak calmly. They do not boast. They do not persuade. They simply exist. Their existence becomes reference point. Conversations change. Expectations shift. Trust forms. This trust is not emotional. It is practical. People rely on results because results have proven reliability. Words can promise anything. Results promise something and deliver something. In 2026, let your life move into this category. Become disciplined enough to resist commentary. Disciplined enough to accept obscurity. Disciplined enough to disciplined enough to let silence work on your behalf. Silence sharpens. When there is nothing to say, there is more to do. Focus deepens. Time stretches. Energy is directed. This creates momentum. Momentum creates results. Results introduce you when you were no longer trying to be introduced. This requires humility. You must release a desire to control how you are perceived. You must allow others to discover you through evidence, rebirth, and explanation. Discovery is more powerful than persuasion. When someone discovers your capability, rough results, it stays with them. When you persuade them through words, it fades. Results make memory. In 2026, let discipline shape your days quietly. Let routine replace excitement. Let consistency replace motivation. Let standards replace mood. Mood fluctuates. Standards hold. Results come from standards lived daily. From doing what is required even when enthusiasm is from honoring commitments that no one else knows about. This private integrity becomes public reality. Eventually, introduction becomes. Your presence precedes you. Your work speaks before you enter the room. Your reputation is built without marketing. This is the highest efficiency. You save energy by not explaining. You save time by not convincing. You save focus by not performing. All of this saved energy is invested back into practice. Practice creates mastery. Mastery creates calm. Calm creates confidence. Confidence attracts trust. Trust opens doors, all without you saying a word. Let 2026 be a year where your discipline matures beyond expression, where your restraint produces clarity, where your silence produces strength. When results introduce you, you are free. Free from comparison, free from urgency. You move at your own pace. You speak when necessary. You act when required. Life becomes simple, and uncertainties have spoken clearly enough. There is nothing left to explain, only the next level to quietly prepare for. Silence was never the absence of power. It was always the place where power was. Throughout this journey, one truth has remained constant. What you protect grows stronger, and what you expose too early grows weaker. Words shorn, uncontrolled scatter energy. Noise when indulged fractures focus. Explanation when excessive dissolves discipline. But restraint gathers strength. Stillness sharpens direction. Time refines his character. You were never meant to announce your becoming. You were meant to embody it. When you stop narrating your life, life begins to move faster. When you stop seeking witnesses, confidence stabilizes. When you stop chasing applause, results deepen. What is built quietly carries weight. What matures unseen endures pressure. The disciplined path is not loud. It does not rush. It does not compete for attention. It moves with precision, patience, and inner authority. It understands that respect follows consistency, not declaration. That influence follows results, not intention. That strength is revealed through restraint, not expression. Let silence continue to do its work. Let time remain your ally. Let discipline be your language. And when the world finally notices, it will not be because you spoke louder. it will be because there was nothing left to question.